Every sport has a different culture. I mean, every sport has a different way to pay you. In the NFL, there's a salary cap. In Major League Baseball, there's no salary cap, 13-year contracts. In the NBA, you have shorter contracts. In the NFL, you get guaranteed money up front. In the NBA, not as much. You also make money on shoes. Every sport is different. Some, and I'll get into this, I think the NBA is the toughest sport to officiate. It's the best athletes. They're often 7 feet tall, so a 5'6" official's looking up constantly. It's not an eye-to-eye view. You got 7-foot guys jumping. It's hard to see. I think it's difficult. But here's the thing. In the NFL, in baseball, in the NHL, rules are more black and white. Offsides in hockey, offsides in soccer, offsides in football, illegal motion, illegal formation, delay of game, hit above the shoulders. Very black and white. What is the hardest call in the NFL? Pass interference. You could call it on every play. Pass interference is ridiculous. Well, in the NBA, virtually every call is pass interference. Every one. So I think I try to give NBA refs a break. Two things are happening now in the NBA, which I think it's the hardest league to officiate, and they've added 2 extra layers of doubt. The 2-minute report, I hate. Basically, no other sport says, hey, let's go back and look at last night. Here's all the mistakes our officials made. Why are you doing that? Well, why are you doing that? Don't tell me it's transparency or everybody would do it. It's not about transparency. It's about covering your butt in case there's a call that could go either way, but it's basketball, so of course every call can go virtually every way. The second thing is flopping. I was always somebody that got flopping, but I think it should be outlawed because I think it's adding a layer of doubt with a 2-minute report. And here's the thing. Flopping, there's a masculinity to hockey and football. You play hurt in hockey. You play hurt in football. Okay, you don't play hurt in football, you are weak. You are not for the team. In basketball, you don't risk an injury in January. You take a night off. In baseball, I remember Mark Teixeira once got an injury in his hand, took a season off, and Mark's a tough guy. There's a sense because the seasons are so long, take a night off in the NBA, take a night off in baseball. Football, hockey, there's no flopping. Flopping is laughed at. Flopping would not work in the locker room. Flopping is not of that culture. But in basketball, flopping is understood. D-Wade, Kobe, great players, flopped. Centers, Vlade Divac, flop. Soccer, you get flopping. Flopping, it's empowering in basketball. It's empowering in soccer. The greatest players do it. I will note this, though. In America, the MLS, there's a lot less flopping. It doesn't work for our culture as much. But I think flopping should be outlawed, and the 2-minute report, they should get rid of it. The NBA is the world's best athletes, 7-footers, jumping up, average officials, 5'10 and a half, 5'11". It's hard enough. Now you're going to call out the officials with 2-minute reports, and now you got guys flopping all over the floor, which makes it harder. I mean, let's be honest. That's just referee manipulation. I'd get rid of it. I don't like it. I think this, I thought last night, Steve Kerr said it afterwards, I thought last night was as well officiated a playoff game as I've seen in years.
I didn't even notice the officiating. I don't think anybody did, and I think that's the best compliment you can give them. They did a great job, and this game was just about basketball.
Yeah, I thought it was great. And I think it is really hard with all the new technology and all the slow-mo and extra cameras. The first Super Bowl ever, I think they had 4 cameras. Last year's Super Bowl had 86. So the idea, NBA games now, you got more cameras, more slow-mo, more replay, more technology. Now you're adding up a 2-minute report to dog your officials, and now you got flopping. I think they need to step in. And for the record, Joy would acknowledge this as well. Sports change all the time. NFL just had a catch, no catch rule. They changed it. I think baseball should outlaw the defensive shifts where you got all these guys in right field. I think they should get rid of it. I think it hurts baseball. I think you take away hits from star players. I would rather see Bryce Harper on base with a double than I would some second baseman playing a short right field and him getting an extra catch. Sports basketball, football, hockey, soccer hasn't changed as much, but football changes every year. They change. There will be a massive kickoff change in the NFL over the next decade. By the way, the XFL is coming out eventually right next year. What I'm hearing, what they're proposing for kickoffs is revolutionary, and I think it may be the standard eventually for the NFL. But the flopping thing it's just adding a layer of doubt and confusion for a sport that is absurdly difficult. Here's Draymond after the game, by the way, also talking about the officiating so far in this series and last night.
Everyone was aware of all the talk about officiating and about foul calls. Come out and play the game. And I think both teams did a great job of that. They weren't complaining about many calls. We weren't complaining about many calls because it's kind of embarrassing for the game of basketball. How much has been talked about fouls and officiating. Like, what about beating your man? What about stopping your man? No one talked anything about schemes the last 2 days. It's all been about foul calls. So I think both teams were just locked in on coming out and playing the game to the best of their ability, and you got to give credit to both clubs. Both teams did that.
I agree with him. By the way, you want to know why we talk about officiating? Because your league comes out and says, oh, here are the mistakes all made last night. Hate it. Hate the 2-minute report. Don't like it. If I was an official in the NBA, would not like. Can you imagine how many times you could do that in baseball? Yeah, in the third inning, we missed a strike call. You could have 40 of those in baseball every night. Hour 2 coming up. Bucky Brooks, Mark Medina on the Warriors. The Herd.